Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
For the Most High is going to stop the flowing of the people going into that country. Read.
Jeremiah chapter 51, the end of verse 44. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. Verse 45. My people, go ye out of the midst.
Hold up, read that again.
My people, go ye out of the midst.
I think within this chapter, he said flee and get out of around 3-4 times. Right? Read.
My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Most High AHAYAH. And let your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor. And
wars and rumors of wars. You hearing about it, and because it's not happening, you think it's not going to happen. Read.
Verse 46, end of verse 46. And violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Verse 47. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth, and all that is therein, shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Most High AHAYAH. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so as Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. Ye that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember the Most High AHAYAH afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind.
Listen to this clear. Ye that have escaped the sword, that means you escape the destruction that's coming to Babylon, go away and stand not still. So when you leave, remember the power or the God, AHAYAH, afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. That's looking forward, not looking back. Now let Jerusalem come into your mind. She's finished. Right? Read.
Verse 51. We are confounded, because we have heard reproach. Shame has covered our faces, for strangers are coming to the sanctuary of the Lord's house.
Strangers have destroyed us. Strangers have destroyed our sanctuary, our belief. They destroyed our understanding so that we cannot connect to our God. They've given us their gods. Baal, Satan, the dragon, Moloch. These are the gods we've been worshiping ignorantly. Jesus. Zeus. Okay, we ain't know nobody named Jesus. Total madness. And then when we wake up and understand these things, we say, well, hold up. I'm a stranger here. You dragged me here. And the Most High starts reviving us. They be like, okay, we have one who's the extremist. You're a terrorist. Read on.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 52. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High AHAYAH, that I will do judgment upon her graven images.
He's going to destroy all your images and your idols. And man, if you even look at Washington, D.C., it's idol after idol, monuments of idols, obelisks, which is man's personal member. That's what an obelisk is. What's that, the Washington Monument? Idols every place. 5-pointed stars every place. But what if some did not believe? So what if you don't believe what we're teaching you? Paul asked, so what if some did not believe? Shall your unbelief make the faith of God without effect? You mean the Most High is going to stop his whole program because you don't believe something? No, you're dead. That's what you are. Okay, his program was before us, and it will be well after us. And that's for the people that's walking out there and say, well, there's wars all the time. There've always been these situations. Every few years this happens. Nothing is going to change. That's a dead man.
Shabbat Shalom, Barakatham, Watawada, peaceful Sabbath, bless you all, and thank you for tuning in to another broadcast of Friday Night Sabbath coming out of Babylon, here for the Gathering of Christ Church. I'm your host, Brother and Elder Ramar Karab. It is 7:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. The date is July 12th, 2019. Hope you brothers and sisters out there are doing well here as we are pretty much in the middle of our summer, so it's definitely really hot out there. And depending on where you are in the country or in the world, hotter in some places than others, and in some places it may not be hot at all, but we're going to talk more about that later with part of what this broadcast is going to be about tonight. But definitely want to say all praises to the Most High, AHAYAH, in the name of His Son Christ Yeshua, for again going into another seventh day of the week Sabbath. It's always a blessing to have a Sabbath here that we can partake in. Also, we have another opportunity to be on YouTube live streaming. We also are live broadcasting from Blog Talk Radio. So, to have the opportunity to be here with you brothers and sisters and share the information and fellowship is always a blessing. And it was a time when we were just on Blog Talk, and here it is now. We're streaming from YouTube as well, so we're reaching more platforms. And it's always great to get this word out and spread this word in any way that we can. So speaking of that, if you brothers and sisters out there that are on YouTube, if you could click the like button. Also, you have social media, email, go ahead and share this and send this out to those that you can. Just blast it out. The scripture says speaking to the wind, so we're just going to blast it out and just put it out there so that nobody will say they didn't have the opportunity to come get some information when we're talking about dealing with the truth. Okay, the truth concerning the Bible. Okay, now let me check here real quick. I believe we do have Brother Shamnoah Allah in the studio here. Just wanted to make sure he was in there with us before we get started. And I know we last week didn't get a chance to broadcast for you all. I was actually traveling and doing some evangelism, so I was a little out of pocket. In the midst of my travels, some big news had happened according to prophecy, and we were looking at prophetic events. There was actually a major earthquake that happened in California, and it happened. I didn't even know. I'm traveling. I'm in a hotel room trying to get myself together for the Sabbath following day, and I didn't find out until the following day that there was. I don't think I found out until that Saturday that there was an earthquake. But yeah, so it was big. I think it happened in Vegas, in California, happened in Nevada and California, and I was just checking it out, looking at some news on it, or whatever the case is, and looking at this week, we have another situation happening along the Gulf Coast. We have we're well into hurricane season. This is the time of year when you start to see tropical storms and hurricanes start to hit America, hit the Caribbean islands, Central America, South America, even maybe sometimes. So when we're seeing these things happening, I thought to myself, and this is what came to my mind as far as the title for tonight's broadcast. America is quaking and shaking, the plagues on Babylon. Now, we know that earthquakes have happened in America for a long time. Hurricanes have happened to America for a long time, right? So we understand these things happen. But I'm looking at the timing of these events happening and the birth pains. We're talking about birth pains and a woman having a child as she's going through, up to the moments of giving birth to that child, those contractions or those birth pains intensify, they get worse, they get faster. So as we get closer to the end, these particular natural disasters, which the Bible calls plagues, right? The Bible calls these what we would call natural disasters, or events of nature. The Bible refers to these as plagues. So we're going to talk about the plagues tonight. Plagues on America. Also, the Bible refers to America as Babylon. You see right there on your screen, you have the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty represents Queen Semiramis of ancient Babylon. And within that, you have reincarnations of Isis in Egypt and Princess Diana of Rome. So she has many names, and today she will be called the Lady Liberty, or the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so that's what's going on. So we're going to talk about these plagues and more tonight. It was a situation where been very, very busy lately, a lot going on. Wasn't sure I was going to be able to come on and do a broadcast tonight, so it's a little bit even out of pocket tonight. But I said, let me go ahead and come on, bring out some information. We can talk about these plagues and what's going on in America with these natural disasters. And I didn't have everything together ready for a show tonight, but I just wanted to come on and talk about these things for a little bit, and really go straight into the information. Okay, so just going to go straight into it. We'll stream for about an hour or two tonight, give y'all some news, go to the call lines, and make sure that we at least do something for you going into your Sabbath. But before we do, real quick, if you would like to listen to this broadcast, there are a couple different ways that you can do that, or if you'd like to share it. You can go to the GOCC Texas YouTube channel. You can go to your search box on YouTube. You can type in GOCC Texas. It'll take you to the Texas Gathering of Christ Church YouTube channel. Okay, and from there you can look at the live link and stream live. Or you can simply type in this into your website or your address bar. You can type this website into your address bar: www.youtube.com/user/GOCC Texas. And that the G and the T are capitalized, all one word, GOCC Texas. Now, if you would like to listen through your phone, or you would like to chime in, you can call the guest caller number on Blog Talk. It's 515-605-9327. 515-605-9327. And if you would like to speak, simply press the number 1. That'll put you in the guest call queue. And I'll be monitoring the call lines, and we'll take the calls as they come. Okay, so those are the ways that you can tune in and listen to the broadcast. And again, brothers and sisters, hit the like button. Go ahead and share this so that others can know we're streaming live, and they can get some of this real-time Bible prophecy news and current events. Okay, time is short. We don't have much time left. We're talking about the end days, but we have time to get our houses in order and to get ourselves right with the Most High God, as He's sending these plagues as scourges for amendment. Okay, He's looking for mankind to make amends with Him in their unrighteousness. Okay, so this isn't a time for panic. Of course, if you're in California or along the Gulf Coast and these natural disasters are affecting you, then by all means, you have to take precautionary measures. You may have to flee from where you're at to safety, as we are in those times that, where Christ said, if you're persecuted in one city, flee to the next. So, we take it as it comes. We take it. Right now, other parts of the country, things are normal. But this is just one more reason when we tell brothers and sisters to make sure that you have 2 to 3 weeks of supplies in your house. 2 to 3 weeks. Food, water, first aid. Be prepared. Okay? Because at any time a natural disaster could happen. You don't want to be, in a hardship scenario where you have no resources, and then you're out trying to fight with the public for resources, and there is none. The shelves are empty. People are out there fighting. Who knows? Shooting and looting. You don't want to be in the midst of all that. You would rather be at home in the safety and sanctity of your house. Stored up with storehouses of resources. All right. So 2 to 3 weeks minimum is what you should have, and just canned goods, dry goods, water. Do these things and it'll prepare you. It'll prepare you for a greater catastrophe when that happens, because we know that those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, they would know that America's time is short, and when the time happens, when the great judgment really starts to go down, that you're gonna want to have yourself prepared and ready to deal with the aftermath. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go into the information. I have some news clips here I want to play. So we're going to go ahead and start here with these news clips, and then when we finish with them, we'll come back and we're going to go and read some articles. So y'all stay tuned. We're about to go into some news here, and then we'll come into the information and the articles after these news clips.
Now to the state of emergency in California, where the governor is asking the White House for help after the largest earthquake in Southern California in 20 years. Meanwhile, people on the ground there bracing for more aftershocks and the possibility of an even larger quake. ABC's Marcus Moore right there in Ridgecrest. Marcus, good morning to you.
Dan, good morning. It seemed to be a quieter night in terms of the aftershocks that you could actually feel, but there were some strong jolts overnight as residents here begin to recover. And as you can see behind me, some have to start all over. California on edge overnight as residents try to recover from back-to-back violent earthquakes.
Get under the table, get under the table. Oh my God.
While still bracing for aftershocks.
I was screaming for my husband. It was pretty scary with all the water coming out.
The shaking so severe, watch this woman struggle to get up.
I used to see this in the movies, people falling down. I think, oh, this is corny. It's real.
Thousands evacuating in the wake of the 7.1 magnitude quake that rocked Southern California, leaving thousands without power and many homes in shambles.
I wouldn't care if I didn't have to go back in that house ever again. That's how intense it was.
It's just not safe for us to go home, so at this point I'm just homeless.
I toured one family's home in Trona. Their belongings scattered and broken on the floor, picture frames hanging sideways, and air vents hanging from the ceiling.
Look at that crack. And they were telling me that the doors couldn't hardly open, and they had to kind of pry their way in. Could you stand?
I couldn't hardly stand.
Could barely stand.
I could barely stand.
Others recovering from fires that broke out as a result of the earthquake. One witness recounting the horror.
The windows started cracking and flames started shooting out, and I just backed up because I wasn't sure if it was gonna blow up.
After 2 major quakes in less than 48 hours that shook pools, ravaged stores, and split roads apart, California's governor is calling on residents to come together.
We all, I think, have a unique role and responsibility to prepare individually to be prepared for the next earthquake of magnitude even greater than 7.1.
And while it seems that things have calmed down here, residents here are not yet in the clear. Experts say there is still about a 3% chance this area could see a stronger earthquake in the coming days. Eva?
All right, we're thinking of those people this morning, Marcus.
So notice, brothers and sisters, the governor of California said, we're preparing the people for the next earthquake that will be greater in magnitude. How does he know that another earthquake is coming and it's going to be bigger, right? Why would he say something like that? And this, maybe somehow he knows something that maybe we don't all know. Well, those of us that are familiar with Bible prophecy, we all know and understand that yes, there is a bigger and greater earthquake that's on the horizon that is going to hit America. Okay, but we'll talk more about that later. I just thought that was interesting how he would make that statement of getting the people prepared for the next big earthquake, which will be greater than 7.1. And notice how you had people on there talking about how it's not safe for them to return home, so they're just homeless. They're just homeless. This goes into 2 Esdras chapter 16 when in verse 40 when it says, "In those evils be as pilgrims even upon the earth." So through the plagues, through the financial monetary collapse of the economy, through the wars, through people spoiling other people's homes, it's going to be a lot of people homeless, a lot of people without homes, a lot of people who are going to have, the only thing they're going to have is what's on their back. And they're going to have their faith. All you're going to have is what you have on your back, the clothes on your back, what's in your pockets, what's in your heart, and what's in your mind, meaning your faith and your works, because the scripture says that their works shall follow them. So now's the time to be building your works up, because faith without works is dead. What are the beginning of works? Keeping the commandments, following the laws, keeping the Most High God's statutes. Those are the beginning of our works. From there, you have things like alms, charity, doing good to others, and those type of things, right? But you want to have works, and you have to build your faith up. That's your confidence and belief in the Heavenly Father, to the things He said, things He has said, and the things, as far as the things that have happened in the past, the things that are happening in the present, and the things that He said will happen in the future. But do we believe? Are we walking the talk that we talk? Are we practicing what we preach? Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to go to the next news clip here. And then after that, we'll come back and go into the news articles that I have for you all.
Good evening. I'm Jim Axelrod. Forecasters say Tropical Storm Barry continues to gain strength and should be a hurricane when it strikes the Gulf Coast tomorrow morning. It's on track to punch Louisiana square in the mouth of the Mississippi River, which has never been as high as it is right now during a hurricane. Combine that with the chance of more than 2 feet of rain and a surge of seawater, and that's why the National Hurricane Center is warning of life-threatening flooding. Lake Pontchartrain, just north of New Orleans, was starting to kick up late today. Those who did not get out of New Orleans by this evening are now advised to shelter in place. We'll have the latest on the track and timing of the storm in just a moment, but we begin tonight with David Begnaud in St. Mary's Parish, where Barry is expected to make landfall.
That is storm surge flooding Grand Isle, Louisiana, which is near the tip of the Bayou State. Mayor David Cammerdale wanted to show us why Tropical Storm Barry brings new fears of more coastal erosion.
We're on the front line. As the crew, this is the storm coming. We're the first barrier island to protect New Orleans. This is the protection of New Orleans.
24 hours ago, the mayor ordered a mandatory evacuation. His town of 1,400 people sits 8 feet below sea level. There's only one road in and out of town, and it will likely be underwater. Crystal Tronjon is one of a handful of people we met today who refuses to leave.
Just gonna hang out. And my mother's gonna kill me.
Louisiana's Governor John Bell Edwards.
The real danger in this storm was never about the wind anyway. It's always been about the rain, and that remains a very significant threat.
For the first time in history, all floodgates on the Mississippi River have been closed within the New Orleans Hurricane Protection System. 85 miles west of New Orleans, the mayor of Morgan City is anticipating between 20 and 30 inches of rain. He's planning to impose a curfew tonight to keep people off the streets, and here's why. Your streets act as a flood system?
Correct. So we have subsurface drainage, which is the drain pipes, and our streets are built to also retain water.
Which is why you want people off of them.
You got it.
Starting tonight, hurricane-force winds of up to 75 miles an hour are expected to rock the Louisiana coastline. Tonight, we are in St. Mary Parish. This is ground zero. The eye of Barry is expected to move right over here within the next 18 hours. Well, you wouldn't know it. It's sunshine and 85 degrees. Usually hurricanes have those outer rain bands that move on shore way ahead of the storm. But Jim, in this case, forecasters think the worst of Barry is on the backside.
David Begnaud among the many in Louisiana waiting for Barry. Thank you, David.
Okay, so we also have tropical storm hitting the Gulf of Mexico, primarily along the lines of Louisiana. Now notice whenever the governor spoke, he said that, well, actually it was the CBS News anchor spoke. He said that this is the highest the Mississippi River has ever been in a hurricane. And they were talking about it's not the wind that they're worried about. They're not worried about the wind. They're worried about the water. They're worried about the water. Okay? Because I know people, they think hurricane, they think, oh, the winds, the gusts, and all of that. No, what about the water? All that water. The flooding. You know, that people getting caught up in the water, drowning, and getting drowned. So, you know, right now you're looking at a state of emergency in California when it comes to earthquakes, and also in the Gulf area when it comes to hurricanes, tropical storms. With those tropical storms usually comes tornadoes. Okay, back-to-back weeks. And this is the biggest earthquake California area has seen in 20 years. Okay, 7.1. So these are the things when you see that, you know, if it's just, you know, just a tremor or something like that, okay, but look at the actual data. Biggest earthquake California has had in 20 years, and the Mississippi River has never been this high in all the hurricanes that have come. Okay, those are things we have to look at, okay, as abnormal. Abnormal, and it's coming in back-to-back weeks, right? So let's go ahead and go over to the information now. Let's now look at the information. So this comes off the website, End of the American Dream, and how fitting of a name of a website. But you have right here, California quake storm. There have been 1,217 earthquakes in the Ridgecrest area within the last 24 hours. Now remember, we talked about this. It may have been the last broadcast we did. We talked about all those earthquakes that were happening within 1 square mile. It would already be alarming to have that many earthquakes in the whole state of California, but this was in 1 square mile. All right, and this article is July 5th, 2019. It says, what in the world is happening to Southern California? Could it be possible that all of the shaking that we have seen over the past couple of days is leading up to something even bigger? I was curious, and so I went to the USGS website and I pulled up a map that is very tightly focused on the Ridgecrest area. According to that map, there have been 1,217 aftershocks in the Ridgecrest area in the last 24 hours. Okay, so in 24 hours, you had 1,217 aftershocks. So what in the world is going on in California? By the time you view the map, that number will inevitably have changed. Normally, aftershocks begin to subside after a while, but right now they just keep hitting one after another. In fact, a rather sizable aftershock rattled Ridgecrest at the same moment when Ridgecrest Police Chief Jed McLaughlin was briefing reporters about the aftershocks. We're getting aftershocks every few minutes. There are hundreds of them. Randy Baldwin, a geophysicist at the U.S. Geological Survey's National Earthquake Information Center in Golden, Colorado, said early on Friday. There's a chance of some larger ones in the magnitude 5 range. One aftershock struck even as Ridgecrest Police Chief Jed McLaughlin briefed news reporters about the emergency response to the earthquake on Thursday afternoon. Okay, as you can see here, here's a map, and you have all the different aftershocks that are going on in this one little area. And it turns out that McLaughlin was exactly correct about the potential for a large aftershock in that range. A magnitude 5.4 aftershock shook nearly Searles Valley very early on Friday. A magnitude 5.4 earthquake hit near Searles Valley Friday morning, one after a powerful 6.4 quake hit the region. The quake is one in a series of aftershocks that hit the area since Thursday's 6.4 earthquake. It struck at approximately 4:07 a.m. local time and was centered about 9.7 miles from west of Searles Valley and 10.8 miles northeast of Ridgecrest, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Those that follow my work on a regular basis know that I have repeatedly warned that our planet is becoming increasingly unstable and that the rise in seismic activity that we have seen elsewhere along the Ring of Fire would affect the west coast of North America as well. And now it's happening right in front of our eyes. The big earthquake in Southern California has been getting all the attention, but we also just witnessed 3 very large earthquakes just off the coast of British Columbia. According to one report, they ranged in size from magnitude 4.6 to magnitude 5.6. 3 quakes shook the seabed off the coast of British Columbia overnight. The quakes were centered about 200 miles south of Prince Rupert, well out to sea. They range from 4.6 magnitude to 5.6, with first one hitting at 4:52 a.m. The other 2 quakes struck within 10 minutes. Those are definitely very large quakes, and it is quite alarming that they happen in the immediate aftermath of the Ridgecrest earthquake. But of course, many of the experts are insisting that there is no link. Okay, so here come your experts to say that, oh, there's no link. They'll dismiss this as just, normal. There's no direct link between the California quake and the Cascadia region here. Our Pacific Northwest faults, the stuff going on up in Alaska or offshore in Canada, said Harold Tobin, director of the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Of course, that guy doesn't actually know if there is a link or not. He is just giving us his opinion as if it was fact. And it may or may not be accurate. But what we do know is that right at this moment, Southern California is being slammed by another earthquake every few moments. And we also know that extremely unusual seismic activity had been happening in California for weeks prior to the Ridgecrest earthquake. So the truth is that this Ridgecrest earthquake didn't just come out of nowhere. And scientists assure us that we are overdue for the big one to hit Southern California. Many residents of the state have been lulled into a false sense of security because things have been so quiet for the last couple of decades. But scientists tell us that it is only a matter of time before the big one absolutely devastates the region. We are being told that a magnitude 7.8 earthquake would be more than 125 times more powerful than the magnitude 6.4 earthquake that just hit Ridgecrest. And the amount of damage that such a quake along the San Andreas Fault would cause is difficult to imagine right now. So look at the difference in scale of power between a 6.4 and a 7.8 earthquake is 125 times more powerful. It's only 1.4 in difference on the Richter scale, but 125 times more powerful. Can you imagine that? And that's just if it's a 7.8. Imagine if it's higher than that. But of course, the truth is that the big one could be far larger than that. Many believe that a quake greater than magnitude 9.0 is coming. And you do not want to be in Southern California when that happens. And we're going to talk about the big one that's coming. And it's not just coming to California. It's not just coming to California. We're going to talk more about that later as we talk about plagues on Babylon, right? If you do find yourself in the middle of a severe earthquake, your main goal should be to try to survive. Here are some basic tips from the head of California's Earthquake Authority. Glenn Pomeroy, head of California's Earthquake Authority, said the quake is an important reminder that all of California is earthquake country. It's important to know what to do to stay safe when the ground starts shaking. Drop, cover, and hold on, said Pomeroy, and to take other steps to prepare to survive and recover from damaging earthquakes, such as to retrofit homes built prior to 1980 in the advent of modern building codes, which may be more vulnerable to earthquake damage, and consider earthquake insurance to protect ourselves financially. Of course, if a portion of Southern California begins sliding into the ocean, drop, cover, and hold on isn't exactly going to do you a whole lot of good at that point. So we're going to talk about this statement here. California begins sliding into the ocean. We'll talk about that later, okay? All over the world, we are witnessing very strange seismic events. Volcanoes that were dormant are roaring back to life, and other areas are being hit by unprecedented earthquakes. Something very strange appears to be happening to the crust of our planet, and many believe that what we have witnessed so far is just the beginning. And of course, the plagues are going to hit the whole earth, but we're primarily focusing on the plagues on Babylon right now. Back-to-back weeks. You have 7.1 earthquake on the west coast, state of emergency declared. You have a tropical storm turning into a hurricane along the Gulf Coast. The week after, the Mississippi River is higher than it's ever been when you talk about during the times of a hurricane. Okay, so those are alarming stats. And not to mention all the aftershocks. 1,217 aftershocks after the 4th of July. And notice that the earthquake came on 4th of July as well. In 24 hours. 1,217 aftershocks in 24 hours. Okay? You tell me what's going on. So, we're going to get ready to go to our next article here. And it also comes off of End of the American Dream. It says here, this is 5 days later, July 10th, 2019. The shaking won't stop. There have been more than 10,000 earthquakes in California and Nevada in the last 7 days. 10,000 earthquakes in 7 days. Okay, The statistics are alarming. The birth pangs, the contractions. The reason why the name of the broadcast tonight is America is Quaking and Shaking. The plagues on Babylon. Because the shaking won't stop. We are in the times of the recompense, the times of the judgment, the days of vengeance, the day of the Lord. It says here, the ground is constantly shaking in Southern California right now. And this has many concerned that another large earthquake may be coming. I have been keeping my eye on Caltech's recent earthquake map. And as I write this article, it says that there have been 10,053 earthquakes in California and Nevada over the past 7 days. So here's the map. Okay, here's the map. The yellow is earthquakes that happened last week. The blue is what happened in the last day. And the red is what happened in the last hour. And then you have a scale here. This big box is a magnitude 7. This size box 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that way you can know what size of earthquake is happening where and when. All right. It says here, I have never seen that number so high, and Southern California is being hit by yet another new earthquake every few moments. Most of the earthquakes are happening out in the Ridgecrest area where we witnessed the magnitude 6.4 earthquake that hit on July 4th and the magnitude 7.1 earthquake that hit on July 5th. But as you can see from Caltech's map, there has been a tremendous amount of seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault as well. As I discussed the other day, the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded, and it is way overdue for the big one. Could it be possible that all the earthquake activity is leading up to something really big? And it isn't just earthquakes that we need to be concerned about. According to Fox News, geologists are nervously eyeing 8 nearby volcanoes. California's uncanny earthquake pause is over. It should have already had several big ones by now. All that pressure has to go somewhere. Now geologists are nervously eyeing 8 nearby volcanoes. And why has Yellowstone supervolcano been acting so weird? So now we have another situation to keep an eye on. Yellowstone, which is in Wyoming, which is half the country away from California. Why is it been acting so weird? The U.S. Geological Survey has warned Southern California to expect more big earthquakes to come. Some, they say, may even be more powerful than those experienced in the past few days. These quakes do not make the big one less likely, local seismologist Lucy Jones told the Los Angeles Times. There is about a 1 in 20 chance that this location will be having an even bigger earthquake in the next few days. That we have not yet seen the biggest earthquake of the sequence. Could you imagine the chaos that would ensue if a volcano suddenly erupted in California? For the record, I am personally far more concerned about Mount Rainier and the other volcanoes in the Northwest, but that is a topic for another article. Okay, so you have we talked about this in past broadcasts, you have the volcanoes up north, northwest, in Washington area, Yellowstone over in Wyoming, and you have the San Andreas Fault down in Southern California. That's pretty much the whole West Coast and part of the upper Midwest when you talk about those particular 3 locations. One angle that hasn't really been talked about much is what would happen to California's nuclear reactors if the big one suddenly hit the San Andreas Fault. We're going to talk about those nuclear reactors. Okay, we're going to talk about those nuclear reactors later. According to Natural News, there are currently 5 nuclear reactors right along the San Andreas Fault and another one that is located directly along the coast. So you have 5 nuclear reactors on the San Andreas Fault line. Why? Why have you put nuclear reactors on a serious fault line, any fault line? But this is a major fault line. And then you have another one that's on the coast. What if a tsunami were to hit? Like what happened in Japan. Why would you put a nuclear reactor on a coastline? These are strategically set nuclear bombs. These nuclear reactors. And it's not just these nuclear reactors. We're going to show it later. It's not just in California. You're going to see that 90% of America's nuclear reactors reside on fault lines. Why? Why? Why would you do that? It says a Natural News investigation into the geolocation of nuclear power facilities in California reveals that 5 nuclear facilities were built in close proximity to the San Andreas Fault line, with some constructed right in the middle of the earthquake zones that have up to a 50% chance of a severe earthquake every 30 years. One nuclear power plant, the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant, which produces 2,160 megawatts, was constructed on the coast, making it extremely vulnerable to the very same kind of ocean water surge that destroyed the Fukushima Daiichi facility, which suffered a 2011 meltdown in Japan. Notice the name of this nuclear power plant that's on the ocean coast. Diablo. What does Diablo mean? Diablo is Spanish for the devil. The devil. And I asked the question earlier. Who would put fault lines on who would put nuclear power plants on fault lines? The devil would. Nobody in their right mind would even create a nuclear power plant, let alone put it on a fault line. Because the devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. So his name is in this power plant. The Devil Canyon Nuclear Power Plant. It may be the first to go. It may be the first nuclear reactor to go of all the nuclear reactors America has when this thing goes down. It's going to be the beginning of them all melting down. It'll be the first to get hit by the tsunami. And the devil will be unleashed in America as these nuclear reactors start to tumble like dominoes across America and melt down. It says here, who was the genius that decided to build those reactors near the San Andreas Fault? Yeah, who was that genius? Right? Now mind you, brothers and sisters, I haven't read these articles. This is my first time reading these articles. It just shows you how powerful the Holy Spirit is, because the stuff that has been put together for this broadcast, this information, and the things I'm even saying, it's just free flowing. Like, I haven't read any of these things. The only thing I read was the title, the headline, and I said, "Oh, those look like pretty good articles. I'll talk about them. This is a pretty good source when it comes to, articles, so I don't have to read them." And a lot of times I don't read these articles. I just look at the headlines and then just say, "Okay, I'll read it" when we get into the broadcast. But just notice how all the information that's been put together for the show lines up with these articles without, them even being read. It says here, the potential for an unprecedented nightmare is definitely there. An unprecedented nightmare. If a magnitude 9.0 earthquake were to hit the San Andreas Fault, it would be 707 times more powerful than the magnitude 7.1 earthquake that we just witnessed. So check that out now. I know earlier we said 125 times between a 6.4 and a 7.8. Look at the difference between a 7.1 and a 9.0. 707-fold times more powerful than the one that just happened in California. And remember, the guy on the news said we're preparing our citizens for the next earthquake, which will be bigger in magnitude. Why would he say that? How does he know? How does he know it won't be one smaller? How does he know the big one's coming? Why would he make a statement like that? Like he's already seen the earthquake happen. Is it because he knows the Bible? Or is he getting his information from someplace else? Is he getting his insight from the Diablo? The Diablo or the devil, right? Reading on, it says, and we live at a time when our planet just continues to become even more unstable, according to NBC News. The number of great earthquakes between 2004 and 2014 was 265% higher than during the preceding 10-year period. So even though people say, well, earthquakes happen all the time, let's look at the data. From 2004 to 2014, 265% increase than from 1994 to 2004. So yeah, there's always been earthquakes. There's always been hurricanes. There's always been tornadoes. Let's look at the numbers. The numbers are starting to become off the meter in magnitude, in record. The annual number of great earthquakes nearly tripled over the last decade, providing a reminder to Americans that unruptured faults like those in the Northwest United States might be due for a big one. Between 2004 and 14, 18 earthquakes with magnitudes of 8 or more rattled subduction zones around the globe. That's an increase of 265% over the average rate of the previous century, which saw 71 great earthquakes, according to a report to the annual meeting of the Geological Society of America this week in Vancouver, British Columbia. But despite all of the unusual shaking that we have witnessed so far this century, the state of California hasn't seen anything remotely close to the shaking that we have witnessed over the last 7 days. Of course, seismic activity is just one element of the perfect storm that is starting to unfold. According to the NOAA, the 12-month period ending in June was the wettest 12-month period in all of U.S. history. Remember we talked about that? And it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about finding the article on that to add to the show. But again, the Holy Spirit works the way that the Holy Spirit works. The last 12 months is the wettest 12 months in all U.S. history. Plagues on Babylon. Okay, and you would never know it because your life seems normal. While all this is going on, you may be sleeping. You may be ignorant to these things. It says here, in fact, for 3 months in a row, the past 12-month precipitation record has hit an all-time high. And I noticed that. I'm like, man, I've never seen this much rain before. Fall, spring, fall, winter, spring, and now summer. I've never seen this much rain before. It's crazy. And the records just keep getting set. We just keep setting record after record. Right? And the flooding in the middle of the country seems like it will never end. Millions of acres of prime farmland will not be used at all this year, and tens of millions of acres of crops are in extremely poor condition right now. So what is that, brothers and sisters? Tens of millions of acres of crops in extremely poor condition, and millions of acres of farmland not being used. What is that? That's a famine. That's a famine on the horizon. That's an increase in prices. So you look at what that's going to do to the economy. You look at what these, because you know the hurricane season just started. What the hurricanes are going to do to the economy, what the earthquakes are going to do to the economy, what war with Iran is going to do to the economy, what this fake trade war with China is going to do to the economy. And meanwhile, a monster storm is heading directly for New Orleans. And on Wednesday, it dumped 7 inches of rain within a 3-hour period on the city. And I'm going to talk more about that after this article, but it says here, lines of thunderstorms associated with a weather system that is predicted to develop into a hurricane by Friday struck New Orleans with as much as 7 inches of rain within a 3-hour period Wednesday morning, forecasters said. The city was engulfed with water, leaving residents to contend with swampy streets, overturned garbage cans, and flooded vehicles. Some even paddled their way down the street in kayaks, which is like a boat or a canoe. So the streets are flooded with water, on top of the Midwest being flooded by rain and it being underwater. So we're starting to see a lot of America underwater. But the worst is still yet to come. The storm may become a hurricane before it makes landfall, and it is going to push the Mississippi River to one of the highest levels ever. So now the Mississippi River is going into overload. And what are they calling it? The deluge. What happened with the original deluge? The whole world was flooded. Right? Signs. Days of Noah. The deluge may have just been a preview of more serious flooding situation from Tropical Storm or Hurricane Barry, which could affect the area into the weekend. On Saturday, the Mississippi River is projected to see one of its highest crests on record in New Orleans, or the highest in 7 decades. A state of emergency has already been declared in Louisiana, and this could turn out to be the biggest disaster for the state since Hurricane Katrina. Bringing that event back up. The biggest one since Katrina, right? Why is disaster after disaster suddenly pummeling the United States? Why? Disaster after disaster, all of a sudden pummeling Babylon. Why? Revelation 18:8. We're going to talk about it. Finishing up here, it says, and could it be possible that this is just the beginning of our problems? Is this just the beginning of America's problems? Notice the timing. As America's getting ready for this 2020 election, Donald Trump, the last Trump going for his next term. Look at everything that's starting up. So look at you have to examine the timing. It says here, a time of great change is now upon us, and I have a feeling that what we have experienced so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg. Okay. All right. So let's talk about more, right? Let's talk about more. What else we got here? Let's go to the next article. And see, all the while, all this stuff's going on, brothers and sisters, and we caught up in our daily routine and our own personal problems, and we think our problems are so big. What's going to happen if one of these natural disasters, one of these big events comes knocking on your front door? These things that we think are so big and so major, and my life is so bad, and this is going on. We're about to see what really bad means in our lives. Especially if we don't have our life right with Christ and the Most High God. Especially because it will just be the beginning of our problems. Hell on earth and the experiences that you experience, the torments on earth, will be just beginning for those who are not right with Him as they segue into hell to the real torments. Right? We have to prioritize our life and look at the big picture and not get caught up in our emotional day-to-day, our emotional problems, how we feel, our emotions. This is bigger than our emotions or our feelings. So let's not get consumed by our emotions and understand there's a bigger force working in and around our lives. Okay, this next article comes off the end of the American dream, because the American dream is dead. There is no American dream. It never was. But in case you believed in it and thought it was real, it's at an end. Up to 25 inches of rain. New Orleans is about to be absolutely devastated by a storm of biblical proportions. July 11th, 2019. New Orleans is about to be hit by an extreme rainfall event that is likely to be the worst disaster that the city has seen since Hurricane Katrina. It is being projected that Tropical Storm Barry could officially become a hurricane before it makes landfall on Saturday. But in this case, the wind speed is not really that important. Instead, the massive amount of rain that this immense storm will dump on southern Louisiana is the greatest danger, because the region is potentially facing flooding that is absolutely unprecedented. Keep in mind, New Orleans is below sea level already. It doesn't take much water for it to be underwater. In fact, one weather expert is even warning that the flooding could be so dramatic that it might actually change the course of American history. Really? You don't say. This flooding could be so dramatic that it could actually change American history, as in the fall of Babylon? Interesting. Weather expert Eric Hothus warned that while the impending disaster would be an entirely different type of flooding than 2005's Katrina, it could be just as harmful and might even change the course of American history. So why is there so much concern? Well, the NOAA is now projecting that some portions of southern Louisiana could get up to 25 inches of rain from the storm. 25 inches. The The NOAA Weather Prediction Center upped its rainfall forecast for Barry on Thursday afternoon, calling for a pocket of 20 to 25-inch amounts near Barry's track between Thursday and Sunday evening. It's very unusual for a NOAA WPC forecast to depict amounts above 20, which testifies to the center's high confidence in this extreme rainfall event. Many parts of New Orleans are already severely flooded, and if that amount of rain actually falls on the city over the next several days, the water pumps are going to be completely overwhelmed. In addition, this is the very first time that New Orleans has ever had to deal with a tropical system when water levels on the Mississippi River are this high. According to CNN, the river is about 8 to 10 feet higher than it normally would be at this time of the year. So because of all the rain that America has been having in the Midwest and across the country, the Mississippi River is already high, 8 to 10 times higher than it normally would be. And now here comes this storm. Tropical Storm Barry presents New Orleans with an unprecedented problem, according to the National Weather Service. The Mississippi River, which is usually at 6 to 8 feet in midsummer in the Big Easy, is now at 16 feet, owing to record flooding that's taken place this year all along the waterway. Tropical Storm Barry is going to produce a substantial storm surge, and normally that wouldn't be too much of a problem, but in this case it could push the water level in the Mississippi River above the levee system that protects New Orleans. The following comes from the Daily Mail. The center warned New Orleans residents that if the storm became a hurricane, it could potentially bring a coastal storm surge into the mouth of the Mississippi River, capable of raising the river's height to 20 feet above sea level. The highest crest in more than 90 years, and high enough to overflow some sections of the levee system protecting the city. We are being told that authorities have great confidence in the levee system, but we all remember what happened during Hurricane Katrina. So basically, New Orleans is facing a perfect recipe for flooding, and nobody is quite sure what is going to happen next. Already a state of emergency has been declared in 5 parishes. Look, there are 3 ways that Louisiana floods: storm surge, high rivers, and rain. Governor John Bel Edwards said Thursday. We're going to have all 3. So New Orleans or Louisiana can flood in 3 different ways. It only takes one of those 3, but they're going to get all 3. States of emergency have been declared in Orleans, Jefferson, St. Bernard, Plaquemines, and St. Charles parishes. Jefferson Parish and Plaquemines Parish have instituted mandatory evacuations as a precaution in low-lying areas or those outside major levees. And at this point, we don't have to wonder if there will be catastrophic flooding in New Orleans, because some parts of the city are already under 3 to 4 feet of water thanks to all of the rain that has already fallen. After Wednesday's onslaught of heavy rain, Valerie Burton said her neighborhood looked like a lake outside her door. There was about 3 to 4 feet of water in the street pouring onto the sidewalks and at my door, Burton said. I went to my neighbors to alert them and tell them to move their cars. Over the next few days, things will get a lot worse for New Orleans. The only question is how much worse. And guess what? Once the storm leaves southern Louisiana, it is expected to head north directly through the heartland of America. So more rain for the Midwest. Yes, the exact same area that has been relentlessly pounded by storm after storm for months we were already potentially facing widespread crop failure all across the middle portion of the country. And this massive storm is going to make things much worse. According to the NOAA, the 12 months ending in June were the wettest 12 months in all of U.S. history. Rain, and plenty of it, was the big weather story in June, adding to a record-breaking 12 months of precipitation for the contiguous U.S. It's the third consecutive time in 2019, April, May, and June. The past 12-month precipitation record has hit an all-time high. And it's crazy because I was experiencing this rain, and I'm thinking to myself, like, am I crazy, or has it been raining a lot? And then it just kept raining, and it kept raining, and it kept raining. It was like it was raining several times every week. And I'm just like, I thought I was going crazy. Like, I knew how abnormal it was. But then when I started seeing these statistics start coming out, and it just confirmed in my spirit of me feeling like, what is up with all this rain? It's all coming together now. It's all coming together. The understanding. And now here in July, an absolutely monstrous storm is going to rip through the middle of the country at the worst possible time. The scenarios that I have been warning about are starting to develop right in front of our eyes, and many Americans are becoming extremely concerned about what the months ahead will bring. It seems like every week we are talking about another unprecedented disaster. America is being hammered over and over again. And this latest blow to New Orleans looked like it could be extremely severe. Let us hope that this storm does not turn out to be as bad as the meteorologists are now projecting, because it appears that many Americans are about to have their lives completely turned upside down. Many Americans are about to have their lives completely turned upside down. And then those problems that you think you have, how big do those problems now become in your life? They're going to become really, really small when you're talking about trying to survive plagues and fleeing for your life from the destruction and the persecution of the saints. And when you talk about Jeremiah 30 and Jacob's trouble. So I want to go into some scriptures now. I mean, hey, the writing's on the wall for me. I mean, the articles hit the nail right on the head, right? So let's go into some scripture now. And again, if you have something you would like to say, we have the call lines here. We have 515-605-9327. You can call into Blog Talk Radio, press the number 1. We'll take your calls. But before we do, let's talk about these plagues on Babylon. America is quaking and shaking. The plagues on Babylon. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18 to talk more about these plagues. And I'm going to bring in Brother Shandawala so he can read. All right, Brother Shandawala, Shabbat Shalom, are you there? Brother Shandawala, can you hear me? If you can hear me, I cannot hear you. One moment here. Let's talk about these plagues. Okay, we're going to Revelation 18. All right, Brother Shandawala, you there?
Con. Shalom, Elder.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. All praise to the Father, man. Doing the show.
All right. So let's go to Revelation 18, if you could, for me. That's good to hear. And give me one moment. I want you to read Revelation 18, verses 1 and 2 for me.
Con. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with its glory. Verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
So Babylon the Great is fallen. It's become a habitation of demons. All evil spirits that you can think of under the sun resides in Babylon. This Babylon is talking about America. Read verse 4 for me.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
That ye receive not of her plagues. Plagues are promised to Babylon. Plagues are promised to America. So what we're seeing, is this the beginning of plagues, major plagues? The plagues have been happening, but is this the beginning of them really starting to ramp themselves up? Let's go straight to these plagues and see what they are. Go to verse 8.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 8. Therefore shall plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Most High Power who judgeth her.
So what plagues are there? It says these plagues will come, first of all, in one day. Now that doesn't mean a literal day. Okay, we know that our time is not the same time as the Most High God's time in the heavens. It means that these plagues are going to happen in a short space of time before her judgment. Okay, so once the plagues are upon America, it's going to happen fast and quick. And they're going to be back to back to back to back to back into her destruction. What are those plagues? Death. How do you get to death? It says famine. Right now you have all this rain in the Midwest. We talked about all those millions of acres of farmland, all those crops that are being wasted. That brings forth famine. Famine doesn't just happen in drought. Famine can happen with too much rain. Crops can't grow in soil that's too wet. Through the famine, you're going to have death. Okay, you don't eat, you die. Through the death, you're going to have what? Mourning. Okay, so many people die, and so many people mourning over people that have died. You know, when people die, they're dead. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to move on. But you're going to have people in mourning because people are dying. People they know are dying. In the midst of the dying and the famine and the mourning, then what's going to happen? The ultimate judgment. Utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. So the fire comes at the end of the rain. Now, you will have those people who will say, well, Babylon is everywhere. Babylon is the whole world. Or Babylon is a system. Let's see if the Bible tells us Babylon is the whole world or Babylon is a system. Read verse 10 for me.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
So, a couple of things we can take from Revelation 18 and 10. Babylon is a great city. That great city, Babylon, is also referred to as a golden city in Scripture as well. So a city is a location. It's a specific location on a map. The city is not the whole world. Okay, a city is not a system. And you see the kings of the earth who committed fornication with her in verse 9 will cry for her as she burns. That's not the whole world. If that was the whole world, the kings wouldn't be crying for her, they'd be crying for themselves. Because they would be on fire too. No, they're crying for her. They're not crying because a system has burned. They're crying because a great city has burned. A great location has burned. For in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So the same way how the plagues will come in 1 day, it's going to happen quick in a short space. Her judgment's going to happen even quicker. When that fire comes, it will come in 1 hour. Not a literal hour, but it means an even quicker time than the famine and the death and the mourning and those plagues that happen first. Let's get more on those plagues. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. Let's get more of these plagues on Babylon. Read Jeremiah 50 and 1.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 1. The word that the Most High spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet.
So this is the
verse
word.
2. Declare ye among the...
Hold there. This is the word that the Lord spake against Babylon. So in this particular instance, he's talking to Jeremiah. In Revelation, he was talking to John the Revelator about Babylon. Drop down to now. So now that we know he's talking about Babylon, drop down to verse 13.
Verse 13. Because of the wrath of the Most High, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at her at all her plagues.
So, because of the wrath of the Lord, America will not be inhabited. We're going to talk more about why America will not be inhabited and how that's going to happen. But it shall be wholly desolate, completely empty and destroyed. Everyone that goeth by Babylon, talking about those kings of the earth, that lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. So let's talk about those plagues. We talked about the big one coming. You know, we had the 7.1 earthquake in California. Let's talk about what's going to lead to a big part of it not being inhabited and wholly desolate. We know that, you know, Iran is going to do its thing. But there are other concerns other than Iran. We talk about the plagues of America. America's going to have, you know, that's the judgment. Iran and the missiles that come, that's the judgment that comes in 1 hour. But leading up to that, there will be plagues that will cause famine and death and mourning. Let's go back to Revelation now. We're talking about that big one, that big earthquake that they're saying is going to hit California. It's going to hit all of America. Read Revelation 16 and 17.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 17. And the seventh angel poured out his veil into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done.
Read on.
And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great.
So Revelation 16 and 18 tells us there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. Now, was this just an earthquake that just happened anywhere in the earth? Let's see. Read verse 19.
And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High, AHAYAH, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath.
So, Revelation 16 and 19 says the great city was divided into 3 parts. What great city? That same great city we read in Revelations 18 and 10. That great city. And it says, and then to confirm, it says, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of wine of the wrath of the fierceness of his wrath. This is the same wrath we read in Revelation 18. It's the same wrath we read in Jeremiah 50. And notice in Revelation 16 and 19, it talks about that great city was divided into 3 parts. So when you look at the world, when you look at the future naval map of America, and I have it here on your screen so you can see it. Again, this is just their depiction of it. This doesn't mean this is accurate. But notice how America looks like it's been divided into 3 parts. You have part of the East Coast, you have part of the Midwest, and then you have part of the West Coast. So if you were John the Revelator and you're looking at this map and you knew this great earthquake just happened, and then you see that, man, look at this water. As you can see, the dark spots on this map represent water. It looks like it's been split into 3 pieces. Look at California. They've been talking about that all week, about California falling off into the ocean. Look at the Rocky Mountain area. It's underwater. Let's see if the scriptures talk about that. Let's see if the scriptures talk about those mountains. Okay, so we're going to read the next verse. If you could give verse 20 for us, Brother Shandawala.
Revelation chapter 16, verse 20. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found.
And the mountains were not found. So those rocky mountains will not be found. They will be underwater. They will collapse into the ocean. The islands around the Americas will collapse into the ocean and be flooded through tsunamis. Now, not only does this map show us America being split or broken into 3 pieces, but also look, it shows it says here at the very top of the map, U.S. commercial nuclear power reactors, years of operation. So if you look at all these nuclear power plants in America, they're all along the area where it's going to be underwater because they're on fault lines. Just like we read in the article earlier. Look at California. Those nuclear reactors on the left are underwater. And the article talked about those nuclear power plants and being put on fault lines. So when you talk about Jeremiah 50, and it talks about those plagues in verse 13, and Babylon not being inhabited and wholly desolate, and the astonishment that those that, fly over America in jets or, sail by in boats will be astonished to see America, smoke coming up, probably all type of radioactive, just glow to it from the fallout from the radiation from all the nuclear power plants. Those nuclear power plants go down, nothing can survive in that condition. That's just with the nuclear power plants, but you're talking about volcanoes going off, Yellowstone, earthquakes, tsunamis, rain, famine, was least of famine. And then to top it all off, the icing on the cake, the judgment will come in 1 hour. Here come your nuclear missiles coming in from Iran and the 10 horns, the European Union. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and shall and hiss at all her plagues. Okay, so it's all right there in front of our faces in the scriptures and in the news. So we have to look at these things that are going on, not to panic, because believe you me, I'm in the heart of Babylon. I'm in the deepest parts of the beast's belly as you can go. And do you hear any panic in my voice in all of this? I'm not panicking for 1 second. But we have to prepare ourselves mentally and spiritually. You have to get yourself to a mental and spiritual place of preparation, in confidence and faith and boldness in the Most High God. So as these things start to happen, you don't get emotional, you don't get scared, you don't get worried, you don't get nervous, you get ready. You get yourself and your house ready to deal with all the plagues and all the destruction that's coming to America and is coming worldwide to the entire world. That's what this time we have before us is for. Not to crawl up in a corner somewhere in a ball and get scared. Okay, this is the time to get ourselves right, to spread this word, to preach the gospel, and to know the prophets. The prophets would have killed to be in this time we're living in, to see all of this, to see everything we're seeing happen right before our eyes. Everything that we've read in this Bible that we said we believed is now right before our very eyes. Confirmation. Okay, so we praise the Most High God, whose name is AHAYAH in the Hebrew, and his Son, Christ, whose name is Yeshaya in the Hebrew, for showing us the truth, for giving us eyes to see so we can see these signs, so we can warn the others, so we can warn the world, so we can get our houses in order, and so that we can boast to the world that, hey, our God and our Bible was true the whole time. How can you deny it now that all this is happening? Precisely, pinpoint accurately, just as this book said it would. And one thing you can't dispute are the forces of nature. That's a bigger force than any man. Okay, so I just wanted to share these things with brothers and sisters tonight, that America is quaking and shaking. The plagues on Babylon is right here. We're gonna keep paying attention to see what happens next when it comes to these plagues. And we're gonna go ahead and go over to the call lines. We're gonna go to our chat to see what brothers and sisters are saying when it comes to tonight's broadcast. So let me go ahead and go over to Blog Talk again, 515-605-9327. And we have a caller from the last four digits of the number, 7720. Shabbat Shalom, you're on the air.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for taking my call. I was just listening to the broadcast, and as you said, it's not to be afraid, and I just feel, the Most High is just tired of the way, Babylon's treating its people, with the chemicals, with the depression medicine, the demonics, that's just demons that are just wide open, So I think he's just tired, and, this time is coming. I had talked to you guys some time ago, a situation was going on with my family, and it went from bad to worse. Go get the sticky there. And I just just had a situation where, I was in a situation where I just played the one song. The gentleman's name is this TT. I'm not sure. I can't pronounce it. He's coming back for war. I mean, I was in a situation where I was just parked and I listened to the song a lot of times, just that one setting, like the Most High wouldn't let me move, because, he's just tired of, the way things are going on. I mean, if we, his children, are struggling, well, me being his, daughter, struggling the way I am with my family, as Elder Ricard says in the song, if that's the right word for that one verse, he's just as tired as I am, and I appreciate it, and I'm just ready to go home. I'm not going to be afraid, as, the one holiday we just celebrated. It's time to just, stack up, the summertime, stack up, and just let the Most High do his thing, So that's about all I want to say. I'm just ready to go home, and try to share the word with as many people as possible. I just got a call from my family member, saying that my nephew has lost at least 11 of his friends, in Ohio, within the last couple months. I mean, they're showing the videos of them just shooting, people, it's just, he's tired, we're tired, and if it's time to go home, so be it. I just have to make sure I'm ready, and with all the quakes and stuff that are going on, I just have to make sure, little, big, whatever, that, he's not pleased with in my life. As you said, it's time to let it go. It's time to just get ready to go home. So, Shalom, thanks for taking my call, and I will just listen to the other comments on it. Wonderful topic, wonderful. I mean, I don't watch the news. I just listen to you guys. And, it's just real. I just met someone from New Orleans today. So tomorrow, you've given me a conversation for him. I don't know if he knows what's going on or not. But Shalom, thanks for taking my call, and I will just listen to the other callers.
Okay, well, Shabbat Shalom, and bless you, Dewada, for calling in. And thanks for supporting the show. We definitely appreciate brothers and sisters calling in and your support and things you have to say when it comes to things. We appreciate that. Again, the guest caller number 515-605-9327. Press the number 1 if you have a comment or a question, and we'll take that. We're going to do the show for probably about 15-20 more minutes and start to wrap things up. But just reading some of the comments here, Christine Scott says, what about that mini-series 10.5? It shows event happening regarding the reactors. Yes, very, very key, Christine Scott. Thank you for bringing that out. I've actually seen 10.5, and it exactly shows that happened in America. And it shows America gets split right down the middle by an earthquake. The earthquake starts up north, and then it starts to go down the center of America and split America in half. And they pinpoint that it's actually headed toward the Houston nuclear reactor. And so they're trying to get to a place before the Houston nuclear reactor where they can drop a bomb or something, so that the earthquake split will split and go into 2 different ways away from the nuclear reactor, so it won't hit it, so that the nuclear reactor melts down. So exactly, they put it right in our face about, that Revelation 16 is talking about America with that great earthquake splitting America in 3 pieces, and those nuclear reactors, and they're going to get hit in these earthquakes. So anybody who hasn't seen the mini-series 10.5, check it out. It puts it all right in our face. So thank you for that, Christine Scott. Beautiful Mo says, I am not ready for this. I haven't been baptized. Well, I would say, Beautiful Mo, you got to get ready. You know, you got to make sure you're taking full advantage of all your opportunities when it comes to things like baptism. You know, send an email to the church, gatheringas1@aol.com if you are not linked into a body, and we'll link you into the closest body and see about getting you baptized. Okay, I'm just reading through the comments here. Quinlan Brown says, if you're not in the truth, you don't have a clue on what's going on. They make sure you don't connect the dots. Brothers and sisters, stay connected to the Most High. So, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're not connected to the Holy Spirit, you have no clue what's going on. You're in the world, and you're into everything else but what's going on, you know, biblically and prophetically. Lincoln Clay. I'm not quite sure what you're saying with your comment about to Jesse saying that we're gathering to get away from you and your people. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, but you know, we represent the people of Christ. So anybody that's a believer in Christ and wants to keep and follow the statutes and commandments and the laws of the Bible, that's our people. Okay, we have a physical people when you talk about who the Hebrew Israelites are physically. Okay, but anybody that's looking to follow Christ and righteousness is our people. They are more than welcome to come in amongst us and be a part of what we're doing. Okay, so I don't want to have to block people on this chat, but you know, if somebody is of the persuasion of another nation, you are to treat them with respect as if they were your own brother or sister, if they are following Christ in righteousness, or your righteousness is no better than the scribes and the Pharisees. So let's be careful. If somebody's dealing with that, and that's something you're dealing with, then you know we need to see about how to help you overcome that. That's a carnal fleshly thing to deal with when you talk about somebody of another nation who's coming in amongst us to fellowship and be in Christ. Okay, well, I see another comment by you, Lincoln. So I'm not sure, Lincoln, if you're part of the Gathering of Christ Church, but you know, whether you are or you're not, in this chat and amongst our church, we don't operate like that. So if you want to remain and not be blocked in this chat, I suggest you stop with those comments, and whatever you're dealing with, you deal with it within your space. That's something that you're dealing with. You know, that's for you to overcome that. But we're not dealing with that here. So, not looking to block anybody, but if that type of talk continues, you will get blocked. So this is your last warning. .5 isn't a Netflix series. It's a Tammy Shelton. It's an older series that came out maybe like in the early 2000s. It was almost like a movie. When I downloaded it, it was like one big long movie. I think they did like 2 or 3 parts. It was like a 2 or 3 part series. Our Quindo asked the question, is there an order of events in the Bible? If you're talking about like biblical events, yes, there is an order of how things are going to happen, but it's a lot to break down. You talk about the order of the things that are going to happen. So it just depends on exactly which events you're talking about. I can tell you that America will be destroyed and judged before Christ comes back. So that definitely will happen. America will go through plagues first before it's destroyed. The mark of the beast will be instituted before America gets destroyed. Okay, so those just some events that's going to happen leading up to Christ's return. Yashar says, how does the technocracy mark of the beast system play into all this? Well, the mark of the beast, you're looking at the technology, you're looking at the financial structure collapsing, you're looking at the digital money. If you really want to know, go and check out the last broadcast we did, Living in a Cashless Society. And in that broadcast, we go in great detail about the mark of the beast and the digital currency and blockchain and all those things. And once the power grid goes down, all these things start happening. You're talking about surveilling people being able to buy and sell. You're talking about health records and these type of things. Now the mark of the beast being instituted for all those purposes. Sean Roseman said, also consider the underwater volcanoes in the Pacific Ocean that you can't see, which have molten lava building up towards the eruption point when the earthquakes push the plates around. Right, you have all different kind of things going on in the earth that's causing the shifts and the causing different events to happen. Reggie Gradnigo asks, do I have any experience on living outside of Babylon? If so, what's it like? Yes, I have lived outside the States. I've traveled, and it's peaceful. It's a lot. There's a lot of things that's like America. A lot of things that's different depending on where you're at. Really little to no homosexuality presence in your face. Clean food, clean eating. Good health. You're not in this rat race of trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. So there's a lot of a lot of those things that you could look forward to. You talk about living outside the States. But you'll find out that a lot of places aren't much different than America as far as living a lifestyle, as far as, when it comes to like housing and things like that. Your lifestyle change comes with the morality that you deal with in those other countries that you really wouldn't deal with in America, being America so immoral now. We have a caller. Let me go ahead and go to the call lines here on Blog Talk. We have someone from the 925 area code. 925, Shabbat Shalom. You are on the air.
Hey, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Elder Ramar. This is Brother Nasai from California. It's been a while since I spoke to you.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.
It has been a while. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. I've been listening to your shows, mostly on YouTube. You come on right when I get off work, so I'm, usually listening to you in the car. But definitely California is. I'm in Northern California, so we didn't really feel the earthquake that was in Southern California. But I know they felt it all the way in Las Vegas, and as far as I think Fresno. But we're due in the Bay Area. We're due for a big earthquake. And I work for Contra Costa County, which is like, I think it's the biggest county in California. One of the biggest, I think it's top 4. But we're, they're always preparing. They always send out these flyers and they mail stuff to all the people, like prepare for the big one. Have flashlights, batteries, cases of water. So, I mean, it's a matter of time before because the fault line is really active right now. And there's a lot of small ones that you don't feel. But I was in '89. I was watching the Battle of the Bay, which was the Oakland A's and San Francisco 49ers. And that was like the biggest earthquake in the Bay Area in a while. So, and the freeway collapsed, the Bay Bridge, like part of the Bay Bridge collapsed. People got trapped in their cars in the freeway. It was pretty intense. So, it's probably going to happen again soon for the Northern California. And, that Ring of Fire is really active right now. So, and then they're talking about volcanoes will reactivate that have been dormant for, a couple of centuries. So, yeah, it's very exciting for the time that we live in. I mean, there's no, like you said earlier, no reason to have fear. We live in some really exciting times that I believe some of the prophets wanted to live in the time we live in. So I'll praise the Most High.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And, speaking of Northern Cali, I actually got a chance to visit the Oakland GOCC back in, I believe it was beginning of March, and I was looking for you. They said that you weren't around. I was thinking I'd get a chance to actually, get a chance to meet you, because I know throughout the years you've always called in, supported the show, the broadcast. So I hate that I didn't get a chance to meet you when I came.
Yeah, I've been dealing with. I heard that you were down too, and I heard after the fact you were down, but I was dealing with some really some health issues that I thought it was like. Maybe it was like I'm allergic to flour, like, gluten and stuff like that, or some type of stomach issue. But my health issue was actually related to my pancreas. It's a condition called EPI, so it's a real simple fix. Well, it's an easy fix, and it's all natural stuff that I take now. It's under control now. So yeah, I'm making my comeback right now. So I'll be around more, hopefully, for especially the big holy days and stuff like that. But I'll see you, I'm sure, soon.
Okay, well, all praises. Yeah, I heard about, the health concerns that you had, and, was praying that, you would be made whole. So it's good to hear that, things are on the up and up. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there'll be more opportunities in the future. Most High will, if, California doesn't fall into the ocean first. But I don't know if it would be me coming there, but it might be you fleeing from there to my side, and that might be, us first getting a chance to fellowship. But as always, thanks for calling in, speaking and giving us an update. And yeah, if you could, just in the future, just let us know, how things are going there in California when it comes to these particular types of topics. So, brothers and sisters can be on the, the informed list when it comes to all the happenings in that particular part of the country.
All right, man. I will do. I'll let you know, man. And you've had so many good subjects in the last month, man. All the ones you've done so far have been really like right on. Like all the stuff in the news hitting, and I've been wondering about how they've been the last couple of days. I don't know if I know you have caught this actually because you mentioned it. The war. There's a war going on between the China and Russia with a currency war, and so I think you mentioned it, but I think that has something to do with the mark of the beast and getting rid of. Eventually, it's going to lead to the end of all currencies, with this war that they're talking about, a currency war.
Right. We did the blog talk on, or we did the stream on the manufactured and engineered trade war between America and China. So yes, that's going to lead to the collapse. It's going to be part of what leads to the collapse of the U.S. dollar and what's going to bring forth the mark of the beast. So absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. Well, you take care, man, and I'll hopefully, I'll try to call next week too. If you have it, God most I'm willing.
All right. Well, bless you. Thanks for the support. Long-time supporter of the broadcast and the church, and see you soon. All right.
All right, Elder. Shabbat shalom.
All right, Shabbat shalom. Let's go over to the 919 area code. We have Brother Travis with a comment. Shabbat shalom. You're on the air.
Shabbat shalom, brother. Yeah, I just want to add to the brother that called in and said, what's his life, outside of Babylon. I've traveled before, when I'm in my late 30s, I really stepped up my travel. And I've lived in Colombia. I spent some time in Brazil. I've spent some time in Egypt. One thing I can say about unplugging from the matrix is something, creating genuine friendships is much easier than being here. And, I encourage brothers, man, to actually unplug, take the time out, unplug from the rat race, and go somewhere out away from American, influence, South America, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. Get far away and spend a week or 2 or 3 and just engulf yourself in it, and you'll see like life is so much better. So that's all I want to add. Doing a great job.
All right. Well, thank you for that, calling in, Brother Travis. Shabbat shalom and bless you.
Bless you too.
And what Brother Travis said is correct. And I would tell other people the same thing. You get a chance to travel outside of America, get to the East, get to the Eastern Hemisphere, Africa, the Middle East, Europe. Get to those areas where you're talking about that old culture. Away from the West, away from the Western Hemisphere. There's so much culture over there. Go for a week or 2, however much you can afford. Just travel and just see the world and experience it. Just get used to traveling. It's not a situation where you're relocating. Just leave for a week or 2 and come back. It'll change you. It'll open you up. You'll get used to being comfortable traveling, and if you can, by all means, go with the group. Don't go by yourself. Go with a group of people. Your family. Put a trip together, so you can get more acclimated and used to traveling. What he said is true. When you go other countries, it is easier to make friends because they'll see real quick and know that you're American. And I'll tell you what, even though people across the world may hate America, the country, because of the government, they love American people. So you'd be surprised how many people will embrace you in other countries. But Chris TV from the YouTube chat says, will the 5G be implemented to find us while the grid shuts? When we have to flee from city to city, then to the wilderness like the Fifth Way movie? Yeah, 5G is just part of the technology that they're going to use when you're talking about surveillance, communications, and being able to track us. Also as a weapon to cause health problems, population control. So yeah, you're talking about getting off grid. You're talking about getting away from their technology, the phone, the smartphones. You're gonna have to throw your smartphones away. That's the way they can track you. You know what I'm saying? And just get off the technology. Stick to dealing with the earth. As Revelation 12 tells us, the earth shall help the woman. So dealing with the earth and the different things that earth can give. The earth can give you water. The earth can give you food. The earth can give you medicine. The earth can give you housing. And the Fifth Wave movie is definitely a good movie to watch that actually gives insight to how, how things will kind of be, because they got the mark of the beast in that, and they also show the plague. So yeah, Fifth Wave is definitely a good movie, dropping it. So y'all got a lot to say tonight. Rion Cantrell says these earthquakes and floods will be perfect opportunity for the devil to do his dirty work in the air with Project Bluebeam. His lying signs and wonders will be used to distract people from prophecy. Exactly. We're living in the age of great deception. So all the technology and things that he has will be used to get people caught up in deception, looking for a savior, looking for an answer to all the things that are happening in the world. Sean Roseman says the demonic entity or the demonic elites plan to burn up the West Coast because a lot of produce comes from California. Freeze the Northeast, New England, like they did in the movie The Day After Tomorrow. Yeah, a lot of plagues. You're talking about drought. You're talking about flooding. You're talking about freezing. Jesse says, isn't it weird how all the places going underwater just happen to be the most populated areas of the U.S.? Right, because people are populating the coastlines. Now, you shouldn't be living on a coast. Scripture tells us you build a house on the sand. What happens when you build a house on sand? Reggie says, do you think Trump will go to war before the election next year or during his second term? That's a good question. I wrestle with that too. You never change a president during times of war. So I know with Bush, he had the Iraq and Afghanistan war and he got reelected his second term. So it could be something that happens before the election to keep him in office. But if it hasn't happened after the first term, it's definitely going down the second term. Because once he's in there, he's got 4 more years to do whatever he wants. He's a sitting duck president or a lame duck president. Okay, let me go over to Brother Shamna Wa'ala. He said he had a scripture. All right, Brother Shamna Wa'ala, you there?
Can you hear me, Elder?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got a scripture?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it out as toward the end, so we can wait. You can go ahead and get all the comments and things like that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we're pretty much wrapping up the comments. I think we're getting to the end. So if you're ready, you can go ahead and bring it.
Okay, come. So I just wanted to bring this scripture out in respect of how I always like to do it. Like you always state, you know, as the Most High use you to make everyone aware and bring forth the news. It's not to perpetuate fear or anything like that. So I want to just bring this scripture out as a reminder. I think we all are familiar with it, but it's always good to read it and get a refresher. So this is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it reads, "For the Most High AHAYAH have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." So really stood out to me, you know, when you said, you know, not to fear. So one thing, he said he gave us the spirit of power. How do we get that power? Through obedience, becoming more subject to the will of the Most High and what he expects us to do. Thus for he will show forth his power amongst us, protecting us, shielding us, and helping us in these last days. So that's the power that we have. I mean, that's the spirit we have to tap into, not fear. Also, what helps us to be more obedient and subject to his will, more so keeping the commandments and the laws and the statutes. Love, as is written all throughout the New Testament. As long as we're in the spirit of love, that will give us the ability to walk in his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? And through this, and having the Most High, and having the full assurance that the Most High is on our side, this will give us a sound mind in these last days, because there's going to be a lot of chaos, confusion, as we get closer. So I just wanted to bring this out, you know, as a sense of comfort. You know, we always want to make sure we are aware of what's going on around us, but let's also be reminded of what the Most High is doing and what he can do throughout us being obedient and coming back to him and then walking in the likeness of Yeshua. That's it, Elder.
Exactly. And the water for that, you know, it's encouragement. And, you know, in these times we do need encouraging and comforting as we go through these trials, these tests that we're going through, you know, all the time. So it's always good to go to those encouraging scriptures to kind of rebuild us back up after this world tears us down, and, you know, all the things that we go through on a day-to-day. So the water for that, and brothers and sisters, also make sure that you have those scriptures that you can read, those encouraging scriptures in all of this, because that's what's going to keep you. And, you know, it kind of reminds me of the book of Eli. You know, he was on his mission going through what he was going through, and he had his Bible with him, and it was keeping him. He was reading it every day. It was keeping him strong. You see what I'm saying? But there may be a situation where you may not have a Bible. All you'll have is the precepts in your head that you remember from studying. So, hey, take advantage of this time now to study and get as much precepts in your mind as you can, because you may look up one day and find yourself without a Bible. The scripture in Amos chapter 8 tells us a famine of the word is coming to the land as well. And people are going to travel all over the world to hear that word. Okay, so there's a lot of time we have here. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. So take advantage of all these things, because pretty soon they won't be here. Tara asks, is Fifth Wave a scary movie? Well, it depends on your definition of scary. It's not scary to me. It's not a horror movie, but I mean, there may be some things in it that some people find scary because it's dealing with apocalyptic scenarios and stuff. But overall, I would say there's probably nothing there that you're really going to be scared about, you know. But so that's pretty much it. I've gone through majority of the comments here, and like I said, I just wanted to come on for a couple hours. You know, we're going over a couple hours. You know, it's been a busy week. I've had a lot going on and still have a lot of work to do. Have to prepare for the Sabbath for tomorrow as well. So just wanted to come on and give you brothers and sisters some news and what's going on, because I did think this was an important topic when you talk about America quaking and shaking and the plagues on Babylon. Just so brothers and sisters are aware that these things are happening, and the actual statistics behind these natural events are definitely staggering and abnormal. So keep your eyes on the prize and keep your eyes on Bible prophecy, because we don't want to be asleep should something go down and we're not ready for it. We don't want to be sleeping. So thank you to all the brothers and sisters out there that support the show. As always, support the church. You help make the body what it is. Without you, there would be no body. And until next time, if it be the Most High's will,